Okay, got that. Open that. Hey people, I'm here. I'm just closing shit and opening shit and hey Jesse, a day to have a bitch. A serious bitch about a serious issue. Hey, g'day. What do I know? Yeah, today we know we're going to cover negligence. We're going to cover lack of duty of care by Daniel Andrews from Melbourne, Victoria. That is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the suicides that have happened and that will happen because of the pathetic rules that he has put out there. So I'm going to share some articles with you guys, and I'm going to have a bitch. Let me go over here because I need to click the share screen button. Share screen. And we're going to do that one. And we're going to do that one. And the reason that I'm doing the live stream is obviously to have a bitch. I was going to do a video instead because I've still got some shit to do around here. I've been painting house for the last 2 days. So, yeah, coming home, chock-a-block full of paint. My hair's full of paint. I didn't even realise I was stuck to it until I went to walk away and I had to peel myself off the side of a wardrobe. It was quite funny, actually. But, yeah, I did try and get the paint out of my hair, like, you know, by just peeling it off with my fingernail. But, yeah, no, I started breaking my hair and I thought, fuck it, I'm just going to leave it like this. And then basically I just keep brushing it. It'll come out eventually. When I wash it, more will come out. So for now, it's plaited, so it's not so visible. Well, what can you do? I mean, hey, you know, I normally do have proper gear for when I paint because I have long hair. I do have a Rasta hat that I bought many, many moons ago, and I always keep that hat simple as a cap, hat, whatever you want to call it, because I can put all my hair in there when I paint and I don't get any paint on my hair. Do you think I remembered that? No. I'm remembering it now. Hello, Roadhog. I'm remembering it now, but yeah, I didn't 2 days ago. But we're back to painting again next weekend. So here's hoping that my head ain't so full of shit that I don't remember my hat again. But yeah, it doesn't matter. With what's going on in society, people, really, it's so unimportant. It just really doesn't fucking matter on any level. And also, before I start too, I want to share a story with you guys. I don't think I told you. I don't think it happened on my last live stream. I might have told you, so I might not have, but I'll retell it anyway. I was sitting here and I heard a thump. And because I'd seen my neighbour in the driveway next door earlier on, I just assumed he was making some noise outside, right? So I never thought more of it. Not even 20 minutes later, I hear another thud, but this time it seemed like it was coming from the kitchen. And I thought, what the fuck? You know, like from my kitchen? So I get up and I go to investigate, and what do I find on the floor? But 2 heads of garlic, okay? 2 heads of garlic that were sitting in a container on the kitchen bench near my coffee, sugar, tea kettle. Those 2 heads of garlic were now on the floor. I looked at that and I thought, alrighty then. I just kind of figure if they're going to be tossing around garlic, the least they could do is cook me a fucking meal, right? You'd think. You'd think that they would be nice enough to do that. Sadly, I've got to do that on my own, which I'm doing today. So can somebody please remind me in approximately 30 minutes to 45 minutes to go check the pot on the stove that is cooking my meal. And if you want to know what I'm having what we call yagle, which is barley. And into that we put potatoes. Well, I've put more into it today than what normally goes in there, but I put in there potato and I put in there carrots and Brussels sprouts, which I chopped up, and beans, and what's the other thing? Oh yeah, New Zealand potatoes as well, which are purple on the inside. I ate them for the first time yesterday, and garlic. And what I did in a separate pot was I cooked up a smoked shank. I think it's a shank. I don't know my meat. Who fucking cares? I hardly ever eat meat, but I had a craving for this because I grew up on this stuff, right? So I boiled that up until it was 3/4 done, and then I peeled the skin off it, got the meat off the bone, chopped all of that up, and then chucked that in with everything else. So that's on the stove now, cooking. So yeah, if somebody remembers, remind me in 30 minutes to 45 minutes, because when I get on around, yeah, time just flies by, you know, when you're having a bitch. But anyway, let's move on to what we're having a bitch about. Okay, obviously, as you can see on my little scroll thingy at the bottom, it says Victoria, Melbourne, Premier Daniel Andrews, a gross negligence, lack of duty of care, manslaughter 2004 OHS Act, and causes the death of another person who was owed the duty. All right. What nobody's looking at here with all this COVID ass bullshit, okay, is what is happening to people. The government doesn't fucking care. Doesn't matter what level of government you're talking about, they just don't fucking care, right? They don't care if you hang yourself off the fucking clothesline. Can people not see this already? How is this not visible to people? Is beyond me, okay? Is fucking way beyond me. That people can't see this. This is happening to their own families. And yet nobody sees it. Nobody wants to do anything about it. But anyway, let's go on this article here. Lockdown inspired suicides on course to dwarf coronavirus deaths in Australia and in time, even in US. Let's go further down. The global suicide rate is accelerating as coronavirus triggered lockdowns, supercharged depression, and mass job losses push people over the edge. How is it possible? How is it possible that nobody sees this? Remember what is written on the scroll thingy there. Gross negligence, a lack of duty of care, okay? This is what the government has for the people. It's duty of care, right? And if you can see that something is going on that shouldn't be fucking going on, would you not pull fucking back? Or would you escalate the scenario to let more people fucking die? Just in case you didn't get it the first time, the global suicide rate is accelerating as coronavirus triggered lockdowns, supercharged depression and mass job losses push people over the edge. Australian and US researchers have highlighted the threat to their countries. Who is fucking not listening to this? Except the people that owe you a duty of care. Meaning Daniel Andrews, meaning Morrison. Did it not come out in the beginning of all of this where Morrison turned around and says that he's going to leave it up to each state, to the premier or whatever of each state, to decide to do whatever it is that they want to do, and yeah, as far as COVID goes? Did he not do that? Isn't that like, who was it? Was it Caesar or somebody fucking, who was it that did that when they washed their hands before somebody got murdered? Who was that? You know, as in, I washed my hands of all of this? Somebody, come on, remind me. Who the fuck was that? Well, that's what Morrison did, all right? That's what Morrison did. But the researchers have highlighted the threat to their countries, and nobody gives a fuck. A spike in suicides triggered by COVID-19 lockdowns is expected to exceed deaths from the actual virus by a factor of 10 in Australia, according to researchers from Sydney University Brain and Mind Centre, who published their findings on Thursday. Like, what the fuck? Again, I remind you, is this not a lack of duty of care? Is this not what's happening in Melbourne, in Victoria? Is this not gross negligence? That this so-called pandemic that they're talking about is not killing off as many people as the fact of the rules that they have in fucking place. Listen, I'm a nobody. I'm a nobody. But if I can see this shit via the information that is coming out, Australia, you need to ask yourself, every country, you need to ask yourself, okay, why is it that the government can't see this? Some governments didn't, not that they didn't care, but they figure, fuck it, this is like the flu. You catch it, we'll deal with it. But what the fuck is wrong with everybody else? Because it has nothing to do with no motherfucking virus, okay? This is literally to do with economics. It's to do with fucking over people. It's to do with putting people onto the fucking dependent on the system so that they can be easily controlled. When Sydney University's Brain and Mind Centre brings it out to the forefront and tells the government that this is what is happening, and yet this is all still in place. What saddens me is other Australians that are outside of this, that they could turn around and watch this and not do fuck all, that they cannot stand up for their fellow human beings. Why? Because it's not happening in your fucking yard? I'm being treated like a leper. COVID-19 survivors are shunned and abused by people who fear they're still contagious. Let's throw more hate and fucking divide in there like we don't have enough on this planet. But yeah, fall for it. Fall for the bullshit every fucking time, right? In the best case scenario, suicide rates will increase 25%. Professor Ian Hickey predicted, observing that 40% of those would be among young people. If the Australian economy continues to deteriorate, suicide rates could increase by 50%. This would add 750 to 1,500 suicides to the annual average of 3,000 deaths from suicide. And Hickey observed that these increased rates could persist for up to 5 years if the economic downturn lasts more than 12 months. Putting it into perspective, the coronavirus pandemic has killed 97 people in Australia. 97! How is that a catastrophe? How is it a fucking pandemic? How? Over 264,000 people have died with the virus worldwide, according to statistics compiled by Johns Hopkins University. But while infection rates are beginning to level off or even to fall in many countries, the economic hurt created by government responses to the pandemic has only just begun. Even before the lockdowns began, global suicide rates were going alarmingly upward, approaching more than 800,000, according to the World Health Organization. In the US, suicide was already at epidemic levels before the COVID-19 pandemic hit, exploding over 35% since 1999. The country saw 48,304 suicides in 2018, according to the CDC. And rates have climbed most steeply in areas where economic deprivation is the most severe. The lockdowns have apparently made matters worse. According to both current stats and projections, suicide in Tennessee quickly surpassed deaths from the coronavirus following the imposition of lockdown orders in March, with Knox County reporting more suicides than coronavirus deaths in the entire state, with 6 suicides occurring in the course of 48 hours, amounting to nearly 10% of the previous year's total. Are we listening to this, people? US unemployment hits 33.5 million, marking worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. US Donald Trump warned early on in the pandemic that there would be suicides by the thousands if prolonged economic shutdowns were imposed. And with upwards of 33 million Americans now out of work, it's not difficult to see the fallout looming on the horizon. Given that about 1 in 3 people who die by their own hand are unemployed at the time, oh, Jesus. But with US unemployment threatening to soar past even the Great Depression 25% rate, or up more than 20 points from what it was at the start of the year, a figure that doesn't even include those working age Americans who've never held a full-time job, the crisis is poised to translate into thousands and thousands of extra lives lost. Trump's estimate then is no exaggeration, since it will likely take years for the economy to turn to normal. Elevated suicide rates will likely persist long after the pandemic has faded into memory. A curse worse than the disease. UK lockdown could cause 150,000 avoidable deaths, more than the virus it's meant to stop. More than the virus it's meant to stop. As newly revealed statistics increasingly ramp up the debate on the wisdom of lockdowns, New York, the epicenter of pandemic, acknowledged earlier this week that 66% of coronavirus cases being admitted to the hospital were people who'd been isolated at home. Doubt is increasingly being cast on the strategy of putting millions of people out of work in order to contain the pandemic. There's no doubt that the COVID-19 pandemic has claimed many lives, especially in the US, which tops the world charts with 73,000. I'm not even going to fucking call out those fucking names or numbers. But while coronavirus deaths are much more visible due to media interest, suicide remains a silent epidemic. Well, why don't we class that as suicide fucking pandemic? That's not a pandemic, that you put people into a position where they kill themselves. Is that not gross negligence? Is that not a lack of duty of care by every fucking government? Let me go on to the next one. Just before I go, I'm going to read this again. The global suicide rate is accelerating as coronavirus-triggered lockdowns supercharge depression and mass job losses push people over the edge. Australian and US researchers have highlighted the threat to their countries, but nobody gives a fuck. A spike in suicides triggered by COVID-19 lockdowns is expected to exceed deaths from the actual virus by a factor of 10 in Australia, according to researchers from Sydney University Brain and Mind Centre who published their findings on Thursday. But hey, let's not listen to them. Let's not listen to them, because they obviously don't know shit either. Coronavirus pandemic plan for mental health too small. Suicides likely to increase, experts say. Oh, what? The government does everybody a favour because what? They invest a little bit of money into a phone line, like some fucking phone line, somebody on the other end of a phone line is going to give you your job back. It's going to bring back a relative that passed away that you couldn't get to see because you were told that you couldn't see him. You know, that same relative that was isolated so fucking bad in an aged care home that couldn't get visitors all of a sudden, and all they need at that fucking time of life is to know that their family is still around. But hey, fuck that. Is that not gross negligence? Is that not a lack of duty of care? Forget about all of that. The federal government's $48 million to spend on a pandemic mental health plan. On a pandemic mental health plan. Oh, aren't they just so fucking good? Former National Mental Health Commissioner Ian Hickey fears Australia's suicide rate will dramatically increase as a result of the pandemic and the economic fallout. He said the government package, which is focused on data collection, outreach services, and communication, contains some good elements but did not go far enough. I think the amount of money is in fact small, said Professor Hickey, who is also a founder director of Headspace and was the inaugural CEO of Beyond Blue. The plan, doesn't yet seem to reach the scale or the immediacy really required now to be ready for the really significant mental health problems that we will face over the next 2 years. For the latest news on the COVID pandemic, read the blog. Go fuck yourself. Modelling produced by Professor Hickey's Mind and Brain Centre at the University of Sydney suggests the COVID-19 crisis could lead to a 25% jump in the suicide rate if unemployment reaches 11%. He said jobless data released on Thursday, which showed almost 600,000 Australians had lost their jobs and almost the same number had lost work. That 600,000 is not including the people who were already jobless, the people who are already homeless, the ones that live out of their vehicles or live on the street, it doesn't matter, that's called homeless. Let's not put those numbers in there. Whole industries at the moment are gone and not operating in tourism and hospitality, retail, across the education sector. Unless we attend to those issues immediately and provide the mental health care, we will have a disaster on our hands. Does the government give a flying fuck? No, they do not. They do not care about you. The saviour that you bow to, the fucking saviour that you fight over in the streets, don't matter what fucking chunk of dirt you're standing on. They don't give a fuck. Because they obviously knew these figures, but they don't care. Because common sense prevail. If the suicide rate is outweighing the COVID deaths, what is more important? Again, gross negligence, lack of duty of care. Duty of care to me means that you would do as that person, or for that person's best interest, for that person's best interest. But when you go and lock them up, you lock them up, you don't even know what you're fucking testing for. Somebody came out with a name, a flu-like fucking thingy, and hey, let's just fucking lock down the world. Regardless of what was going to happen. What the fuck did the governments think was going to happen if they take away people's fucking employment? One day you have a job, you've got a family to feed. The next day you ain't got shit. You can't even walk the fuck out. It's not like you lost your job per se, okay? You were literally told to fucking leave it. How many of those small businesses, for example, literally never reopened? Never fucking reopened. So then you've got all of these unemployed people. People that yesterday were fucking working, that had a job, that were putting food on the table for their kids. Today, can't leave their fucking homes. Melbourne, Victoria, 1 hour of what I'm told is they can go out and exercise. 1 hour, okay? So you can't breathe air in properly, because what's the point of going to exercise? Because you've got to have a fucking mask on. So fuck that shit. This people has gone beyond a joke, okay? It's gone beyond a joke. Why has it gone beyond a joke? Because this is no longer that you can say it's affecting the weak-minded, okay? Yeah, no. This is not just affecting people who aren't strong-willed. This is affecting people who are strong-willed people. People who are still trying to work. But the mass lockdown of no, you can't go out, okay? You can't go out. You can't see fucking anybody. This is starting to affect them. And these people are still fucking working. But does anybody give a fuck? The government doesn't. The government doesn't. They don't care if you knock yourself off. Don't give the cunts the satisfaction. Don't give them the fucking satisfaction. Take off your masks and everybody fucking hit the street, for Christ's sakes. When is it going to be enough? When your own family members start fucking dying? And that's for the ones that haven't already? Did you get to say goodbye to them? Did you get to bury them properly? For fuck's sake. I have a daughter in Melbourne, okay? I have a daughter in Melbourne. Am I pissed off that she can't come and visit her mother? Hell yeah. Let me tell you something. God forbid that anything happens to my child. God forbid. Because to me, prison's a holiday. Prison's a holiday. At least I'll have people to talk to, 3 meals a day, got a gym there, can go out and do some gardening. I'm isolated anyway. What the fuck difference is it? But I'm putting it out there. For Victoria, for Melbourne, you need to stop doing what you're doing. Gross negligence, lack of duty of care. God forbid something happens to my fucking child. Because I won't give a fuck. I won't give a fuck. And I'm not going to go down the road and do something Lord knows what. No. No. I know who's at fault for all of this. I know who's at fault for all of this. They know it. They know that this is going on. And it's clamping down even more. Andrews is clamping down even more. Morrison, like fucking Caesar or whoever the fuck it was, wiped his fucking hands, washed his hands of everything, and says, no, each state can do their own thing. And you put up with this shit? You're going to vote for these pricks? You're going to vote for these pricks? Don't forget, the Prime Minister of this country went to Hawaii on vacay while half the country was on fire. Let's not forget that. He went on vacay. He went to get a tan. People, stand up and do something. These are your friends. This is your family, your relatives, people you know. Stand the fuck up and do something. We haven't even talked about other illnesses and whatever that are way more contagious than what's going on here. We're just talking about suicide. Suicide. This is the fucking situation that this government here and governments across this earth, the situation that they've put these people into. They don't care. They don't care. You can sit there and say, oh, but all you fucking want. This is suicide. Do people need to kill themselves because they can't fucking feed their family? Do people need to kill themselves because of the isolation and the whatever that everybody's crammed fucking in at home with no fucking outlet, okay? Where domestic violence increases, where all of a sudden you've got people arguing because there's not enough money to put food on the fucking table. You've got crying fucking kids. But hey, does your government give a shit? No. Premier Daniel Andrews, his head has gotten so motherfucking big and he's sucked in so much of this power thing that he's on, this power trip, okay? This fucking huge power trip. Oh, I'm gonna fucking show everybody. Then all the publicity that he's getting, this is a swollen head, people. When somebody gets a swollen head, they can't see in reverse. They don't know how to back the fuck out. They just keep going forward like a bull on a red fucking flag. Somebody needs to put a stop to this. It's gross negligence. It's lack of duty of care. When you can clearly see that people are knocking themselves off because of what you've done, you would surely stop. You would surely stop and go, fuck, well, that's not working. Let's continue. Unless we attend to those issues immediately and provide the mental health care, stick your fucking mental health care up your fucking ass. Majority of people are fine, okay? They're fine until government gets involved. The government's latest stick your package up your ass too. I'm not going to read that. He wants structural change. We need to mobilise the private sector as well as the public sector. We need to use the 21st century digital methods to guide people to the right care the first time. What right care? Let people fucking out. For those that believe that they have to do this, because a lot of people do. Your fucking door is open. There is not a padlock hanging on the outside of your door. Turn the fucking knob. It's not hard. You don't have to fill out any paperwork. So what if they fine you? So what? Put them in a position where they have to do that to a whole complete state, to a whole complete country, and see if they do it. They won't, because where are they going to stick everybody? They can give you a fine. Don't fucking pay it. Go out the next day and do the same fucking thing again. Like I said, hey, I'll catch you guys in jail. What are they going to do? You're already in prison. You don't need the concrete walls with the fucking barbed wire. You're already in motherfucking bitch-ass prison. I've been saying this to you people long fucking ago. We're all in open-air prisons. Wake up. But nobody wants to listen. Nobody wants to listen. Suicides could overshadow coronavirus deaths. Patrick McGorry, the Executive Director of Youth Mental Health Organisation, agreed the pandemic mental health plan would cost far more to implement than had been allocated. He said unless serious action was taken, the deaths and damage caused by mental illness would overshadow those caused by COVID-19. Thank you, Jenny. Oh, has it been that long already? Okay, yeah, no, I'll let it go for another 5 minutes. This is a very big wall we're trying to build, and we saw a couple of bricks, I was going to say pricks, put in the wall. But when is the rest of the wall going to be built? I think there's a lot of detail in the plan, yada, 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 yada. What's this here? To keep the COVID-19 outbreak under control, we need to keep growth factor below 1.00. Where are we? Fuck the growth factor. We're talking about suicides today. You know, when people say mental health, it doesn't mean you're a fucking nutter, okay? It doesn't mean that you're a fucking nutter, okay? Doesn't mean that you've lost your scruples. It means that you've gotten so fucking depressed that you can't see a way out, except for suicide. I'm not even gonna begin to try and understand it, okay? But I have been so fucking depressed, and not because of this fucking stupid-ass pandemic, okay? This was years ago, that if I had not have had somebody, a friend, not a fucking helpline, but a friend that stood by me and spoke to me every fucking day, Who knows what could have happened? Was I a nutter? Hell the fuck no. I just had so much shit going on around me that I couldn't see a way out. I couldn't see a solution. So when they talk about mental health, these are not people who have lost their fucking scruples that do this. People that had fucking mortgages, people that had homes. What about those people that had work and had a mortgage? All of a sudden, they don't have work. How are they going to pay their fucking mortgage? Because now they're on unemployment. Oh, and let's go there. How much your government cares, okay? Let's fucking go there. How much they care. The stimulus package. Oh, we got JobKeeper. You know, we're going to cut that down by a couple of $100, but they'll still be getting X amount. Well, hang on a minute. That's all right for the ones that have a job to go back to, that have guaranteed work to go back to. But what about the ones that have no job to go back to? They're no longer on JobKeeper. They're on Job Seeker. What are they going to do with the Job Seeker payment? They're dropping it back to the below poverty fucking line that it was on before. People that were on Job Seeker didn't even get the second stimulus package. So all these unemployed people now won't be getting JobKeeper. They will be getting Job Seeker, which is practically, like I said, below the fucking poverty line. That's the people that you fight over in the streets. That's the people that you argue over. You know, this politician, that politician. That's the people that you argue over, is the pricks that put you in these kind of situations. Anyway. $600,000. And I would guarantee there's way more than that. I would guarantee that there is way more than that have lost their jobs. Literally lost their jobs with no work to go back to. Because you've also got to include the small business that went bust. So they're now unemployed. And as I says, don't forget the ones that were already unemployed. The homeless, the whatever. Oh, shit. Assuming the current coronavirus death rate remains relatively the same, some 300 people could perish in Australia by the end of the first year of the pandemic. During that same period, more than double the number are expected to die due to a secondary crisis that has been sparked by this COVID-19. It will be a largely silent death toll, and little is being done to drive down the number of victims. They're talking about suicide. They're talking about depression, about people being depressed. Mental health emergency has erupted in the months since Australia launched its unprecedented response to coronavirus, with anxiety and depression rates skyrocketing. Well, what did they expect? What does anybody expect? When you practice lack of duty of care and you isolate people, you stop them from fucking mingling, which is a human fucking need, okay? Even if it's just to have a fucking bitch. You can't even go out and exercise properly because, hey, you got to wear a mask. So what? We're going to do a fucking, I don't know, a 10K fucking jog in an hour with a mask on. And if you drop dead in the meantime, oh, COVID got him while he was jogging. COVID got him while he was jogging. The consequences of that, coupled with the long-term psychological distress caused by unemployment and its myriad side effects, will see suicide rates jump sharply. The predicted increase of suicides is 25% each year for the next 5 years. Now, this is the part also that gets me, okay? For the next 5 years. Can you imagine? Just think about this. If every state, every country does what Melbourne, Victoria is doing, and they do it for the next 5 years, does Georgia Guidestones come to mind? Does it come to fucking mind? The people will be knocking themselves off, and that the government, who owe you a duty of care, you put them there, you voted for them, they owe you a duty of care. So he is saying the predicted increase of suicides is 25% for each year for the next 5 years. People, is this what you want? Is this what you're going to put up with? Because so far it looks like everybody's happy with it. So far it looks like everybody's just fucking honky-dory with it. Even if you're not in the state of Victoria. Everybody else fucking stand up. My opinion only, go to a lawyer. Go to a lawyer if you've got a mate that knows how to write a proper letter. And I would mail. I mean, I'm not telling you to do it. I would literally mail. Email, snail mail, registered mail, whatever mail, to Victoria's government, specifically to Mr. Daniel Andrews. This is what I would do. And I would accuse him of gross negligence, of lack of duty of care. Like I said, my opinion only. My opinion only. And don't stop those fucking letters going. Don't stop those emails. Stand up for the people that you can see are literally being forced not just into a lockdown or a shutdown, but to suicide. And this guy's saying here will increase 25% each year for the next 5 years. Is that not telling you something? You think you're going to go back to normal? Kiss my ass, you fucking will. What fucking normal? It's not normal. Where do people not see that there is gross negligence here? Huge fucking lack of duty of care. Yeah, I got a block splitter. They can use robots. I got a block splitter, Sam. They need to make them really, really fucking solid because, like I said, Dave, I got a block splitter. That's 750 extra deaths by suicide a year. It's an enormous number. It will be a massively bigger death toll than COVID. Let me hit that for you one more time. That's 750 extra deaths by suicide a year. It's an enormous number. It will be a massively bigger death toll than COVID. I'm not even going to go into the deaths, people. I'm really not. Because we know that even people that aren't fucking sick, you know, the goats, the fruit, the everything else, it's all got COVID. You know, it's all got COVID. Oh, shit. Hang on 1 second. I'll be back. I got to look at my food. Fuck. Oh, yeah. Oh. It must have needed those extra 5 minutes. Sorry, folks. But when I go on my rant, I go on my rant. Like I said, I was going to do a video, but my video is like, you know, I can only do them for 15 minutes. And if it goes longer than 15 minutes, then I have to use Movie Maker, and I put those two videos together to make it the full extent. I thought, oh, I can't be fucking bothered. Can't be bothered. I was too pissed after reading this shit. And believe it or not, all these articles I've had up since last night. Oh, Road, I'm shadow banned. I've been shadow banned for fucking years, mate. For years. You know? They started doing that to me when I started reporting on the Oroville Dam in California. But anyway, let's keep going. Professor Hickey and his colleagues at BMC modelled the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and Australia's response to it on suicide rates. The figure of 25% more suicide deaths annually could wind up being a conservative estimate. He warned. So he's already been warning. Okay, he's already been fucking warning. Natural surveys of anxiety and depression, both via the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and studies show increasing rates of psychological distress since the pandemic began. This is what fear does to people, you know? People all of a sudden forgot that people die and have been dying every day for years, you know, for years. But all of a sudden, it seems like people think that people only started dying since this pandemic came out. People have been dying of different things for years, and the numbers of those deaths well outweigh this stupid ass fucking COVID. Okay. Initially, I think there was a high degree of anxiety about health, but I think the deep and ongoing anxiety is about people's economic future. Exactly. Mental health is being impacted by uncertainty, disruption, and disappearing optimism as the situation becomes chronic. The hope that coronavirus might be something we only have to manage for a matter of months is long gone. I don't even want to put the pictures up anymore of people being stupid and getting fucking tested. I really don't. I really don't. If people can't see what's going on by now, you know, perhaps the biggest contributor to serious psychological injury will be unemployment. It's unemployment and social dislocation coupled with great uncertainty that really drive distress. People are going to find themselves out of work for the first time. They're going to see the collapse of their businesses. They might experience the breakdown of relationships. They'll battle with isolation and they can't travel and are dislocated from friends and family. What did I say earlier on? The social dislocation caused by unemployment is also damaging. Research out of the United Kingdom this week revealed a mammoth 10% increase in cases of acute anxiety and depression. So if you go to one of their doctors and they diagnose you with this, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? They're going to put you on antidepressants. You don't need antidepressants. You need to be let the fuck out of your pen. You need to walk out of your pen. You need to be able to go back to fucking work. You need to be able to socialize with people. Even if it's to go sit somewhere and have a fucking coffee with somebody. But oh no, we've got a pill for you. We'll depress the fuck out of you, but then we'll give you a pill. Bonus. Kudos. That's staggering. It's not for trivial issues, but for serious illness. So it's a large number of people who are in trouble. The majority of that increase was in people who had no previous mental health problems. People, I'm telling you, I know people who are strong-willed. I know people who are strong-willed, who are strong-minded, whatever. But all of this is getting to them. They're in Melbourne, in Victoria, okay? It's getting to them. The assumption that if you've never been unwell psychologically before, then you'll be fine is absolutely not true. See? These are unprecedented times. No, they're fucking stupid times. They're fucking beyond a joke times. Early data here indicates that women and young people have been hit hard by coronavirus when it comes to mental health. They're also the two groups to have experienced the largest losses of employment during the pandemic. But it's telling you there. I'm not making this up, you know? And if YouTube wants to knock this down, go for it. Go for it. I didn't write it. I didn't invent it. It was on the news, okay? On the news. Mainstream media is reporting this. Mainstream media. 750 extra deaths by suicide a year. It's an enormous number. It will be a massively bigger death toll than COVID. Wake up, people. Wake up, people. Here we have Victoria's new workplace manslaughter offences, okay? How you can bust somebody for manslaughter, okay? Tells you who can be charged. That's why I said this is the law in Melbourne, and a couple of other states apparently have also updated their law when it comes to this. Has Daniel Andrews overstepped his mark? Did his head grow too big from all the power, from the control, you know? Oh, look at Melbourne, Victoria. Look at Melbourne, Victoria. His head's got to be that fucking big. Occupational Health and Safety Act, yada yada, death of another person who was owed the duty. The offence applies to negligent conduct by an employer or other duty holders as outlined below, or an officer of an organisation who breaches certain duties under the OHS Act and causes the death of another person who was owed the duty. If we go down here and we have a look, who can be charged with workplace manslaughter? Government entities. Bodies corporate, incorporated associations, statutory authorities, trustee of a trust, unincorporated bodies and unincorporated associations, partnerships, government entities. Duty of care, people, for those that don't know, you are supposed to, okay, you are supposed to provide the best care that you can. Like I said, if you can see that that person that you are supposed to be providing, or people, duty of care for, that something is happening to them that is not right, would you not stop doing that? I personally think that Daniel Andrews, that Morrison for not stepping in, they need mental health. They need their own mental health program. Because it's one of two things. Either they don't give a flying fuck, or they don't know what duty of care is. Well, we've seen clearly that they've been told all about duty of care and how many people are committing suicide. The elderly being fucking trapped in places without being able to see family, without even being able to say goodbye to family before they die. Is this not a huge, gross negligence and lack of duty of care on the part of Andrews, on the part of Morrison government? Because that's what he did. He washed his hands of the whole thing. Because surely him being the Prime Minister, you would stop. You would say, hang on a minute, dude. This ain't working. You've got people knocking themselves off. It's not working. Let's look at what other countries did. Some didn't even fucking go into a lockdown. Did they obliterate the population? No, they didn't. That's right. They know. They knew this would happen. They know it's happening. They know it will persist. And yet they refuse to stop. My question is, where are everybody's eyes? Where are everybody's eyes? Nobody wants to know. Nobody wants to know. That's the problem. It's too hard to deal with. Some people don't even want to write a letter. Some people won't even write an email. Oh, God forbid I get into trouble. You don't have to be in the state of fucking Victoria. Like I said, we have a manslaughter thing here. Go through it. Look at a high risk of death, serious, here, look, negligent conduct, okay? A high risk of death, serious injury or serious illness. A high risk of death? Does not take responsible action to fix a dangerous situation We're failing to do so causes a high risk of death. We just heard Hickey say that suicides are outweighing the numbers of COVID. You want to have a look at it here. Look, penalty. If convicted of workplace manslaughter, the following penalties apply. Maximum of 25 years. Wouldn't you like to see Andrews and his cohorts sitting in jail? Wouldn't you like to see that? Wouldn't you like to see that? I know I would. Because like I said, this is not a good thing, people. It's not a good thing. Not a good thing. But anyway, on that note, I am going to love you all and leave you. For those that, oh, Jace, like I said, mate, people don't care. You know, people will go to some channel that's having a bitch session over who said what about who. That's humanity, that's society, and then people want you to be, have faith in who? You know, it matters not, mate. It really matters not. I mean, I've started to look at things differently. I come on when I can come on. I'm throw up a video if I think something needs sharing. It don't matter, Chase. It really doesn't. At the end of the day, who's meant to survive all of this will, and who isn't won't. It's that simple. It's that simple. It's something that nobody wants to talk about. You know, nobody wants to talk about the suicides. Nobody. What are they pissed off with? What? Something that they don't want to talk about? That they can't talk about? This shit happens. It's a part of fucking being on this earth. This is happening. How is it that a pandemic can be less threatening than suicide, not because of the pandemic, but because of the situation that the government has put people in? On one side, you're screaming, go out and get work, but then all of a sudden, you just like literally wipe it out from underneath everybody's feet. There goes your mortgage, there goes your family, there goes your fucking income. You've left people with nothing. You're leaving people with nothing. And then you think you're doing them a favor by putting them on the job seeker payment, which is less than fucking poverty line. It's below the fucking poverty line. But hey, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? Like I said, I have a relative in Melbourne. I'm not going to be one of those that just lets it slide. Hell the fuck no. At the moment, Andrews and the Morrison government are keeping my child hostage. They're keeping her hostage. She's done nothing illegal. They're keeping her hostage. It's kidnapping. Like I said, huge lack of duty of care, gross negligence to what they're doing in Melbourne, Victoria. But hey, on that note, folks, I'm going to love yous and leave yous. For those that hung out fully, for the full thing, thank you kindly. You're always appreciated. For those that popped in, popped out, thank you. And I will catch everybody next time round. I'm not sure how much live streaming time I've got. That's why I'm keeping it short today. So the next time I can stay up for, yeah, a few hours or so. But anyway, thank you, everybody. And stay strong.